Then it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tell the Damn Story. I'm Chris Ryan. That's Alex Simmons. We have two great guests on, and we're here, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about the trials and tribulations of writing, the joys and the failures, hopefully to make your journey as a creative smooth. And as you can see from my smooth delivery today, we are the people to listen to. Over 300 episodes
we are.
of this award-winning smoothness, ladies and gents. Alex, tell us who is back in town again.
Now that you folks have had a taste of my co-host, the wonderful, the bubbly, effervescent, and ever smooth Christopher Ryan, writer and a bunch of other things, who we have today is the super talented sage of comics and novels and television and all this other great stuff, Mr. Tom Sniegoski, and the gorgeous, wonderful, lovely, bubbly, effervescent, talented, charming, oh, my heart.
Who came in?
Jeannine Acheson, Tom and Jeannine, co-writers of Vampirella and a bunch of other stuff, and we're going to find out about that today, aren't we? Because there's some new stuff that
we can actually talk about.
Yes,
now, Alex,
talk about it.
Alex,
yes. What?
In sense of fairness, Tom is gorgeous as well.
It's the lighting. Chris, it's the lighting.
I told you it worked.
It's wonderful to have you folks here again, because they're two of our favorite folks here.
If you don't mind, Alex, I want to, and Tom and Jeannine, I hope you don't mind, I want to start not with our main event, but with a lightning bolt that Tom sent over the Facebook transom the other day by just reposting something from a former Marvel editor-in-chief and other creative endeavors, Bobby Chase. I read it with eyes wide open and a pure heart.
I read it with my mouth open.
Yeah, and that's how I was left, and a little bleeding from the chest. Yeah, so Tom, do you want to explain what the situation was? Or?
Yeah, let me see if I can boil it down to like brief, and then we can discuss it. Basically, what's happened is that Roy Thomas, who was the editor-in-chief at Marvel,
after Stan, he
after
was the
Stan
second
Lee,
big one,
is claiming that he is a co-creator of Wolverine now, and he's getting the credit.
Yes.
Now, isn't it interesting that he's suddenly the co-creator of Wolverine after everybody else has died? that could actually argue the fact with him.
According to Bobby Chase in the posting that you reposted, Roy allegedly started claiming this after Stan had passed, after Len Wein had passed.
Was listed as a creator.
And John Romita. Now,
John Romita and Herb Trimpe.
And Herb Trimpe. If I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the traditional credit for co-creating Wolverine went to Len and John Romita, with credit going to Herb Trimpe for bringing him to life.
Yeah,
especially in the first appearance of Wolverine in The Incredible Hulk. Now, I was but a wee lad, and I went to my comic book, my Tony's Candy Store. I remember picking up that issue.
Me too.
Yes, I remember reading it and saying, what is this character? And then that's got to be 75, 76, 77, around that era. And he has been in existence, Wolverine, and has grown in fame and legend amazingly. I would probably suggest that he is the second most famous Marvel character by now, or at least most popular. Spider-Man, of course, is globally one of the top three characters, but Wolverine is, I would say, second most popular.
What were you going to say, Tom?
I don't even know anymore. I'm still horrified from that story.
All that time, from the 70s until about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, no word from Roy. And then like 2018, 2019 was the first murmurings, which Bobby boiled down to Roy saying, I named him. I suggested the Wolverine name. and I requested that he come from Canada.
And
Those are the two things.
yeah.
But when Deadpool and Wolverine gets on the screen, I guess it's this summer, it's going to say co-created by Len Wein, John Romita, and Roy Thomas, not necessarily in that order.
I've heard that Roy Thomas's name is going to come first.
Wow.
And honestly, it's a lot of people are saying that Roy's manager has a lot to do with this, whoever this guy is.
Yeah.
But from what I found out from somebody else is that Roy has tried this already with other characters created around that time period.
Well, I know that, again, this comes from the Bobby Chase posting that you reposted, that I think it's his Wikipedia or his webpage listing now says co-creator of, and all these characters, basically all the new characters or many of the new characters that came forth and made an impact during his tenure. Now, there are some that I remember him creating or bringing back and reinventing. I think it was issue 57 of the Avengers is the first appearance of the Vision.
Okay.
And he had retooled a Vision that was from the 40s. He was a big 40s and 50s fan, and made him the current Vision. I would defend him in certain things, but I never heard his name at all anywhere near Wolverine. So
people here and there that say, oh yeah, he did mention that back then, or he did mention it here, and he did mention it here, but it was nothing. I mean, it was the first time I was ever hearing any of this stuff.
So when you first saw Bobby Chase's post, what were your thoughts?
I was like, oh, this is going to open up a really ugly can of worms.
Which was the gist of your posting.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is ugly.
All right, so why do you think it's a can of worms? I'm being devil's advocate here.
Because of the fact that you're basically saying that if you were the editor-in-chief or an editor on somebody's work, you could claim that you did part of the creation of the project.
Right.
Well, I would be like one of my editors on one of my novels getting a co-writer credit because he edited my manuscript. That's not how this works.
Now, let me push the devil advocate role for a minute, and then eventually I'll have to come clean. But he's the guy in the room, and if, let's say, what he is claiming is true, that he named Wolverine and that he requested that Wolverine come from Canada. End of list, as far as I understand. Is that enough?
No,
is that enough
not
to
enough.
be a co-creator?
And it's not enough, and you're serving a specific function as an editor. Right. Those are the kinds of jobs you perform as an editor.
Would you say that suggesting a name or a place of origin is within the scope of being an editor?
Yeah, being an editor, but not claiming the rights of creation on the character.
So let me play one more roll of the dice as devil's advocate here.
Alex, she's shaking his head.
Alex loves this stuff.
Well, we'll talk about this after the show, right?
Is there ever a point where that line blurs or an editor should cross over into co-creatorship?
I don't know.
I had never heard of that before.
No, what I would say is that editor would have had to been down in the trenches with you, like writing the script with you, writing dialogue with you. I might bend a little bit and say, yeah, they deserve something. But if you're sitting behind a desk and just making these suggestions as an editor on another creative work, you can't claim any ownership.
Let's push it one step further, and I know what the answer will be.
Open the floodgates and let them go.
This might be the floodgates. Now, the Marvel way, created by Stan and Jack, according to legend, is that they would talk it out, and then Jack would go out and wherever he was, whether he was doing it at home or doing it in the bullpen, and draw the issue and come back and Stan would fill in the narrative boxes and the dialogue boxes based on their conversation. But what in reality happened is that they would talk about it and develop ideas or develop characters or this or that. And then Jack would go and create this entire universe and bring it back. And Stan would go, wait a minute, who the hell is that? Oh, that's the Silver Surfer. Oh, it's because you need this. The kids like surfing, and there you go. And whatever. And Stan took co-creator on all of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
God bless it. I love Stan. And I love that his personality helped bring Marvel to life in a way that created this part of our culture. But Jack always seemed to be the creative genius. And yet that phase of Marvel, Stan was able to co-create and take that for everybody. They created hundreds of characters in this way. Second generation, it's Roy Thomas. And
But don't you see a difference between what Roy was doing and what Stan Lee was doing?
What I'm hoping is that you will
There's
clarify that difference for us.
Stan Lee was in the trenches with Jack.
Okay.
Whereas I see Roy Thomas sitting behind a desk, throwing out a couple of suggestions, and then going back and editing something else.
Yeah.
Whereas Stan was writing these books.
Right. And at that time, Roy was writing a lot of books.
Right, but
he didn't write this one.
He didn't write this one, and
Yeah,
there was a line. There was his editorial stuff, and there was his writing in scripting actual books. That's fine. If Wolverine was in an actual book that he was scripting, then I might be a little more willing to say, maybe.
So we got to go. We're just going to wrap this part of the show up by going to maybe one or two darker questions. Okay. In your opinion.
Yeah.
And first, let me, because you're about to drive a spear through my heart, let me confess that I have loved Roy Thomas as I first encountered him as a 10 or 12-year-old, as the creator of all these comics I was buying. Back then, you could buy 25 comics for $5, and I saw Roy's name everywhere, right? Yeah. So in my head, he was as big as Stan, but now here we are 50 years later. In your opinion, and if you think I don't want to touch that question, that's fine. Why do you think Roy is doing this now-ish?
From what I understand, and other people have told me this, and I was unaware of it, he's been doing this a lot. He's been almost like establishing his place in the Marvel history. It's almost like he's building up his reputation.
I would argue that for a long time, especially over the span of 25, 28 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, it's been all Jack and the two artists. But late 60s through the 70s, Roy kept that mighty ship afloat. And a lot of the stories that turned into Marvel Cinematic Universe movies were under his tutelage. Our other guy, McGregor's Black Panther, the Infinity Gauntlet, and all that sort of stuff. He was somehow running the show for a lot of that, but it's widely forgotten. But does that justify what's happening now?
No, absolutely not. This is like your average person who works in this industry. This is like somebody grabbing you by the front of your shirt and giving you a shake.
Yeah. Is there a way back for Roy?
No, this is somebody whose reputation is going to be really damaged.
Which it's heartbreaking for me, because he did do a tremendous service to a genre that I love. I love comics, and I loved Marvel Comics growing up, and Roy was a huge part of that. And I do think that has been largely forgotten about him, and it breaks my heart that this is the way he's trying to reclaim it.
I'm curious if we're going to get a comment from him about this, if he's going to come out and talk about it. But what can he say? Oh yeah, I co-created it. Everybody knows that.
If I was advising him, I would say that was in conversation. I don't mean I was just that I was contributing to. But it's hard for him to say that now that he's got his name on this film.
Yes.
And if that means residuals as well.
That's what this is all about.
That's what, I'm trying to get to it, but there you go.
This is what this
and
is
if
all
so,
about.
God.
And can you imagine being Len Wayne's widow,
Yeah.
getting a phone call from Marvel saying, "Oh, and by the way, your husband, or your former husband, is no longer listed as the creator. There's somebody else."
Is he still, is it a three-way listing now?
It's, from what I understand, the credit is going to show up as Roy Thomas, Len Wein, and John Romita.
Now, if there was residuals involved with that,
There are
think
residuals involved.
but think about it. It was split between two estates,
Exactly.
and now it's going to be three. And that's some public relations that's going to be really hard for him to get over.
Yes.
And it's sad. He should be celebrated, but not for this. And
Yeah.
this grab may hurt his
it already has.
celebration.
It already has. In
Sad.
one article. That's all it took.
It's sad because I learned how much Stan did after the fact. I cut my teeth on Marvel with Roy running. There was some guy named Stan Lee, and then he did the soapbox. But at first, I didn't understand how big he was.
Right.
Until the origins of Marvel Comics
I'm
came.
going to ring the bell now.
There we go. Thank you very much. And now on to our main event.
Yeah, I'm going to ring the bell.
Alex is just sitting there stewing.
It was such an interesting post. It's worth our time.
It's controversial, and I don't have a problem with controversial, but that's not what this episode was going to be about. It was about Tom and Jeannine's new project.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to spend more time on that.
We're also putting in it perspective. Watch me shovel my way out of this, Jeannine.
Because now we're going to wait for Tom to pass, and then Jeannine try to take credit for it. Is that what you're setting up here?
Library, everything, it's all mine.
Jeannine was quiet the whole time.
But she was doing this. Right? It always goes back to creators and creativity.
Yep.
And how we are treated and what is honestly and fairly ours versus work for hire. Can you renegotiate?
The bigger issue, which is always going to be there, always, no matter whether we're talking film, theater, novels, comics, or whatever, is the human factor.
Yeah.
And literally what we've been talking about, which is happening all over the place in politics and everything else, is ego. And literally right now that becomes a huge conversation in and of itself. And since we're going to talk about ego, let's talk about people who've earned the right to sit forth and be proud and with their chests puffed out, and talk to us about what's been going on with Vampirella, because I have questions about that as well. What's the news? What's the news?
You know what I like, Alex, is while you do all that, these two miscreants are sitting in the back of the classroom sniggering at each other like they're up to no good.
Yes, good. So tell us what good nothing you're up to. Yes.
Yeah, that's us.
That's
fair.
Miscreants. Yeah, miscreants
representation. That's us.
Miscreants is
So what's happening? Tell us.
About what do you want to know?
Let's go first with Vampirella.
Vampirella first.
Vampirella, we have a new arc, is it a new arc coming out?
It's like we did a book called Vampiverse.
Yes. Dark Reflections.
Okay, I can't do it this way.
Like how many? 2 years?
2.5 years ago.
Yeah, and this is like a spinoff out of Vampiverse.
Yes, with a new
with a character who was Vampirella's daughter, actually, from an alternate reality.
Lilith, right?
Yeah.
Would you want to give us a little more of a teaser?
Lilith has been assigned the job of, because there's so many different realities with different Vampirellas, is a specific reality where the Vampirella of that reality has gone quiet.
Okay.
So they send her there to discover the mystery of why this Vampirella has gone quiet, and discovers a Vampirella that's basically hit the skids, so to speak.
Wow.
Been basically defeated, like just driven down to the mud by chaos, by the gods of chaos. And it's up to Lilith to lift her up again.
Let me back up just a
resurrection story
to take a leaf out of the Denny O'Neil book of comics and creativity.
Yes.
Somewhere on the planet, there's somebody who's coming to this new for the very first time.
Yeah. Yes.
So tell us just a little bit of the backstory of this character called Vampirella so that we can, in context, understand what you're setting up now.
Okay, like if we go back to the very beginning, Vampirella was like a scantily clad space vampire who came to Earth to. I think she came by accident. I think
It was the 1960s, right?
Yeah, it was 1960s, created by Forrest Ackerman of Famous Monsters of Filmland fame,
Trina Robbins.
and Trina Robbins, who helped design the costume. So she came to Earth from a planet that the rivers flowed with blood, but they were all drying out. So basically, she came.
Oh, Detroit.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. So she came to Earth like seeking like a new food source or whatever, and ended up basically becoming like this champion of the people fighting supernatural threats and what for. She got most. It was funny because I think when she first started, she was more of almost like a host, like a crypt keeper or
Or creepy or
creepy and
eerie.
eerie
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, Warren. So yeah, but
Right.
then I think it might have even been Denny O'Neil who started to actually do something with the character and build a supporting cast and have her fighting the cult of chaos. I think it was Denny that did that.
We'll
Denny.
look into that.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was one of the old timers. It was either Denny. I think it was Denny. I think it was Denny.
I'm-
I vote for Denny.
Yeah.
But all right, now I'm
Either
gonna.
that or Archie Goodwin.
You know what? It might have been.
Could have been Archie. You're right.
I
Yeah.
think, you know what? I think it was Archie.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. But go on. You're doing
Like
fine.
I always said, Archie. That's what I said.
That's what you say. What I was gonna say was, then I got my hands on her in the 90s.
That sounds so wrong.
Do you want to rephrase that?
No, I don't. I actually I do not. I do not. And I created a whole new origin for her
Okay.
based on, so I took the kind of, I don't want to say silly origin and made it part of her origin, but at the same time, it was a planted memory. It was something that
Okay.
wasn't real. So she didn't.
So it tied it all together.
Yeah. She didn't actually remember her actual origins, which had connections to Lilith, the first wife of Adam, and the Garden of Eden. And I broke out the old Catholic Bible and
All
had
right,
a
go
field
with it
day,
by-
which I'm known for.
As he takes a swig from the bottle. Yes.
So the Vampiverse stuff allows us to play with not only the concepts and stuff that I created, but concepts that of the old time Vampirella, as well as concepts that haven't even been thought of, like just putting weird little spins on the character.
So let me ask this. If we have young filmmakers like Alex teaches or aspiring writers who come and wander in here and can't find the way out, and they say, I've got to know more about Vampirella.
Oh boy.
Can they start with this new series? Can they jump on there, or do you have a roadmap that you would suggest for them?
Required readings.
Yeah,
Yeah, can you start with Dark Reflections?
Yeah, I think you could if you came in with the knowledge that there's a kind of a rich history.
Okay,
I
that's all
think
you'd need to know, and then
yeah,
you'd
I
pick
think
it up.
Yeah, I think if you knew she had a rich history, just by the way we wrote it, I think you could to get a sense of
Put the pieces together.
who the character is
Yeah,
and
that's
what the
great.
character had going for her as far as like a supporting cast or and things like that. Yeah, I don't think it would be too difficult.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you set up Vampy's rich history. And
Yep.
we understand one can go deep with that.
Yep.
And now bring us to how did you get involved with this latest incarnation? And how does the lovely Jeannine fit into this?
I think you should start talking. I've been talking too much.
No. So Lilith is a character that we introduced in the Vampiverse miniseries that we did a couple of years ago. And she was one of the characters who was just helped to vanquish the threat that all of the Vampirellas were having. We're up against,
Yeah,
we're
we're facing
facing
in the Vampiverse series. Yeah.
And so after that series ended, Lilith became a member of the Reality Corps, which helps to make sure that all of the threads throughout the fabric of the Vampirella stories are playing according to the rules and being okay. And so that's where we find
That's
Lilith.
sort of a
who's now
multiverse.
grown up.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
multiverse, and every multiverse has a Vampirella.
Gotcha. Okay.
And each Vampirella is performing a certain function in the context of the story that world is
Yeah.
telling.
Okay.
As she has for many, an adolescent reader.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so go ahead there, Jeannine. You're doing fine.
What? Goes to this world where this Vampirella is downtrodden and has been beaten
Yeah.
and is just at her wit's end. And she does her thing.
Yeah, we don't
there.
want to tell. We
Yeah,
don't
we
want
don't
to.
wanna-
There are some nice surprises in it.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
don't
this
want
one's
to.
really different.
So who came up with this plot?
Both of us.
Together, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How?
How did we come up with it? I
How?
said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I got an idea."
Yeah, that's pretty.
And she was like, that's genius stuff.
I
You gotta
did.
stop using that word around him. But no, so really, did you guys sit down and go, okay, we got to come up with something new, fresh, whatever, or we got to pull something from the past and unite it with the potentials of the future? Did Jeannine have an epiphany in the middle of the night and call you? What happened?
Occasionally that happens, but not this time. We went back to that original miniseries and we combed through it again. After we had finished that, we pitched a few more ideas to Dynamite, and this was one of the ideas that we pitched, that there would be a story about that character named Lilith who was in the Vampiverse.
Well, but it's Lilith, the daughter of
Yeah.
Vampirella. That's got a kind of a nice little
Yeah,
panache to it that we haven't seen before. So,
Hmm.
yeah, she's really cool.
so not only do you have that, but you have a Vampirella in this world as
Right.
well. So you have these two characters playing off of each other.
And is this our world or is this an alternate?
No, this is an
Yeah.
this is an alternate world where things got really bad,
Yeah.
which is why this Vampirella is as
Is
messed
in the
up as she
situation.
is.
Okay.
And Lilith gets sent there.
Yeah,
This is
From-
her first mission all by herself.
yeah, as a member of this reality collective, like the Green Lanterns, but they're all Vampirellas,
Right.
And they're not all green.
and they're not green.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to develop this?
The initial taking notes so we could send it over to Dynamite to see if they liked it.
Yeah.
That wasn't too long. That was just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, maybe a couple of weeks. A lot of batting things back and forth. That's what we do a lot. We brainstorm. I'll throw something and she throws something
And
back.
then I take notes.
She's the note taker. Because I'll look.
Tom, will you lose
Oh.
an idea if she doesn't take notes? If Jeannine doesn't take notes?
It has
Yeah.
been known to happen.
And Jeannine will say, wait a second.
A
Which
lot
is
of
the,
times.
yeah, that's been amazing. That's the one
Yeah.
thing is since we've started working
one
together. Yeah, this
Ooh.
Boy, the one thing. Huh? The one thing.
Ooh.
The one
see
thing.
what I deal with?
Yeah. When you said that, Tom, my light went out. Okay. That's how much of an impact.
It didn't want to have illuminate what she might have done to him.
What's gonna happen?
It definitely didn't want any part of that.
I don't know. The screen went black for a moment. I don't understand. So Dynamite okayed the premise.
Yeah.
You guys then developed it further or went straight to script?
I think once they gave us the thumbs up, I think we went right to script.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think we went right to laying it out. And
Yeah.
then we usually what we
Breaking it
do is
down.
we break it down first. Like page 1, panel 1, panel 2. And
before
then
we get
spread-
to page, let me get granular on one other thing. When you pitched to Dynamite,
Yeah.
did you pitch a multi-issue? How did that, what is the expectation there?
Well, they wanted to do something that kind of spun out of the Vampiverse series. So they were like, give us an idea that takes place in this
Yeah.
world that you've created.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
We-
when you pitched it, did you pitch, well, we see this as a 6-parter, 8-parter ongoing series?
Yeah, usually we tell them how big we see it. The Vamp was only a one shot, right?
yeah, they only wanted to do, we did a character called the Vamp, which
Yeah.
is like a 1930s
Mhm.
pulp type
kind of.
character version of Vampirella.
Yeah,
And that was a one shot.
that was a one shot because
Uh,
they wanted a one shot.
They only wanted a one shot.
Yeah,
for
But this time
Okay.
they wanted a series, and
yeah,
this
mini
was
series.
a miniseries.
Yeah.
And this was a what? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, we did this a long time ago. I think Dynamite's had a very full plate of things to release.
Yeah.
So I think we could put on the back burner for a while. So we wrote it and it was being drawn, but it wasn't on any schedule.
Ah.
So it had been like scripted and fully drawn for a while.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, a couple of months before
Well,
they
that, I mean, there's so much here that, again, aspiring creatives don't get to hear. The idea that sometimes a company like Dynamite will say, we want a one shot. Sometimes they'll say a series, and you get to say, we're looking at it as a 4-parter, a 6-parter, 8-parter, and then there might be some pushback. They say, we don't want an 8-parter, we want a 6-parter or something like that, right?
And we did have that because I think
Yeah.
we originally wanted to do 6,
and they like 5.
and they were like, no,
They
we
like
like
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Interesting.
But then you had
When
to
is this-
retool it for a 5-parter.
We didn't really have to retool it all that
Too
much.
much.
We
We
just
had to
maybe
drop back a
just
little.
pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And
then you get-
how long? How
Go ahead,
long did it
sir.
take you to write?
One script.
Oh, no, all 5.
Oh,
Oh, all 5?
we turned them in. We turned them in like monthly or every 5 or 6 weeks. So 6 months.
Yeah, 6
Ish.
months, and then that's taking our time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we weren't
It's taking our time.
we weren't killing ourselves on
No.
this one.
Yeah.
No.
'Cause it wasn't even on a
It wasn't
schedule.
on the schedule.
Because you didn't have a deadline.
Yeah,
Would it have
Does
been that
that-
much different if you'd had a deadline?
probably because they would have
Yeah.
been expecting stuff
Yeah.
at a more specific time. So
Yeah.
we would have probably been a little more focused on
Yeah.
just that
Yeah.
to get it done when they were looking for it.
But we had plenty
Do-
of time.
Yeah.
Do you think that the quality is the same whether you have a shorter deadline or a longer deadline?
I'm all about quality.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
No,
are.
I like Jeannine's eyes. Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait, quality?
Honestly,
I knew there was something we forget. No.
I can't speak for her, but if I'm not going to give 100%, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
No matter the deadline,
Mhm.
you're going to get.
What you're gonna get.
You're
So,
gonna.
because some creators say my best inspiration is a deadline, and others say, no, I run to the keyboard, I run to the.
Yeah.
So, which is it for the two of you?
Oh, I don't know. She loves a schedule.
I do love a schedule.
She's very. I'm a little more. I would like to be a little lazier with my approach and stuff because that gives me an opportunity to think a little bit more, play with
Percolate,
something
yeah.
a little-
Yeah.
yeah, percolate, yeah.
Yeah.
But she likes the.
Well, she was a teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everything.
Curriculums and schedules and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
highly trained in that way.
I think
Yeah.
I think I got burnt out on those like deadlines when I was writing novels more.
Yeah.
Those deadlines were brutal. Those
Gotcha.
were brutal. And there were times where I was writing like 2 or 3 books at the same time.
Oof.
And that was a nightmare. I don't know how I got involved in that. Obviously, I was being very stupid. And how
Well, it was the energy of yes, right?
you know what? I
You know?
think you know what it is? It's not even the energy of yes, it's the energy of being a freelancer and not knowing
Knowing when.
when you're
Yep.
gonna possibly get
Right.
off something
Yep.
else. So of course you say, I can do that. And you start to formulate this asinine battle plan in your brain
Right.
that has to work. You can't, one line can't be out of place.
Yeah.
But you think it's gonna work perfectly fine. You convince yourself that this is gonna work. It doesn't ever work. It doesn't.
So then when it's not working, then you're a different level of creativity kick in.
It's-
Holy
It's called pure panic.
yeah. But there's a school of thought that any way into the creativity pool will get the job done, whether it's
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
doing it or because I need the check or because I want the opportunity or because the clock is ticking. It all gets you to that creativity.
Yep.
Yes, there might be some preferences, but the idea is to create and keep creating.
I can't tell you how many times I've looked at like a calendar that I've like mapped out and been like sad looking at it going, there's no way I can do this. I cannot even fathom being able to complete this.
So has that become a part of the process? Like I can't do this, and then the creative or maybe the competitive part of inside you
lately.
says I'm going to find a way.
Not over the last couple of years. I think since
Stuff
we've
has been
teamed
very-
up, we formulate and say, all right, this is how this is going to be.
Formulate and percolate. Yes.
We're very
Regulate. Yes.
We're very realistic
Yeah.
in terms
Right.
of, whereas way back when I was stupid, there was no realistic.
You were just younger and wilder and
Yeah,
realistic was
realistic.
possible. Come on.
Realistic didn't enter into it.
Of course not. There's no room for realism here. What are you talking about?
But I really do think it's that freelancer mentality that
Yeah.
says, I can't say no to that.
You have to, yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't say no to that because I don't know what's behind that, if
That's right.
anything.
I got bills. I got mouths to feed
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that kind of good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
So-
Let me bring this. Because again, I'm clock watching too. Let me bring this
Vampirella
into two
section.
places. One, when is this epic being released? Because you had mentioned earlier there was no schedule. Now it's on a schedule. So when is it coming out?
I think,
Sure, I
it'll
think
be in the preview
yeah.
book
I think
this
the
month.
first issue shows up in the new preview book that's, I think, coming out this week.
So people can get they can pre-order, I'm sure.
They can
soon, but
pre-order.
they can
I
get
hope-
their
I would
hands
love
on
it.
it
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
June.
5 parts monthly or what?
5 parts
Monthly,
monthly,
yeah.
drawn by the amazing
Uh.
Daniel Main, who's a Spanish artist who's just fantastic.
Yeah.
He worked with us on Vampiverse and stuff, so
Yeah.
he comes with us when we do Vampirella projects. But
Gotcha. And now the other thing I need to get to, because you threw this one at me this morning, pre-green room, is there something else on the horizon?
Oh, this is very exciting.
This one's real.
Yes, and
This is
it's,
really-
I even want to do a lead in. There's something else on the horizon, and we've got months to wait for it. But
I
now tell
know.
us about it.
So this is our first novella together. And
Oh.
it's a Constance Evermore story, and the title of it is Nera.
Constance Evermore.
Constance Evermore.
Can you
Constantly-
tell us about Constance Evermore?
She's a new character that
Brand
we
new.
created specifically for these novellas.
Yeah. And it's being published by Bad Hand Books in South Dakota.
Yeah.
They're a
Sure.
new small press, but this guy is amazing. I mean,
Yeah, I've seen some stuff with Bad Hand, and I think they're a company of exciting.
yeah.
Very.
What's funny,
So-
this came about in the oddest way possible. I worked with an artist named Tom Brown. He's a British artist. I've worked with him on a couple of things. And I guess was doing some cover work and design work for Bad Hand. I get this email out of the blue from Tom Brown that says, hey, would you want to come up with a novella so I can do the drawings for it? And it was, oh. So I said, let me run this by the other half and see what she thinks about possibly taking on a novella project.
I said yes.
She says, yeah,
I say
yes. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but our schedule, but yes. But yeah, but our schedule, yes.
Yes, I know we have a schedule. That's what
Yeah.
I'm
Like I
saying.
was saying before, the
Right.
the
You're not
excitement of
listening to me,
yes.
Tom. Yes.
Yeah, I know. So I went back to Tom and said, yeah, we're in.
Oh, but no, you went back to Tom. You went back to
Tom
Tom
Brown,
Brown,
the
the
artist.
Tom Brown. Okay,
The
thank you.
artist, who then went to Doug Morano at Bad Hand and said, I got Tom Sniegoski and Jeannine Acheson to agree to do a novella. And he was all excited, which I'm
Yeah.
amazed that anybody even knows
who you are.
who the
Oh,
person is.
stop.
Yeah.
Oh,
please.
stop.
Oh,
Come
please.
on, bro.
Yeah.
Come
Oh,
on, bro. It's
Come
us,
on,
bro.
stop.
Please.
I'm so humble. No, really,
That's
he
it.
is humble, folks. Really, I'm busting his chops.
Tell us a little more about Constance Evermore. She's a new character you created for this
Character.
novella.
We
We
don't want to
created
give away
her.
we don't give away too much.
Sway.
She's got a really fascinating story.
Yeah, and a very long history.
Yeah.
Can I read the write-up that you have?
Oh,
to go with the
actually,
cover?
Well, I was
believe
going to say that the write-up
tells us.
reveals. So, and Chris, can I bust your chops on that? I don't want to tell us about it. You guys created this. This is a chance to hear it in your voice.
You want me to talk?
We'll both talk.
All right.
right.
I'll start.
Thank you. Yeah, you both can talk. Yeah.
Basically, this germ of an idea came about at one time when we were talking about, hey, you know what? There's some people doing novellas. We should do novellas. So this was like a long time before we were even approached by Tom Brown to do a novella, but we were batting an idea around. And I think what started the germ of an idea was the fact that I was reading about calls,
Oh, yeah.
with babies who are born with calls on their
What is
face.
calls?
It's like a hood of skin.
It's when the amniotic sac doesn't break during childbirth, and sometimes the child comes out with it just over their face, and sometimes they're completely engulfed still in the amniotic sac as
Oh,
they're
my
birthed.
goodness.
So so supposedly in folklore,
Yeah.
babies born with calls have psychic abilities.
Yeah,
They have
special ability.
they're prone to supernatural things.
Yeah.
They're like sensitives. So I was fascinated with that. I played with that idea but in some other stuff over the years. But what if there was a character who was born this way with the call, and the call is actually part of her makeup. So she carries a bag made from the call that covered her face, and inside this bag it's like Felix's bag of tricks. You never
Okay.
never know what's going to come out of that bag. And she's older than our recorded history. She was part of a civilization that existed before we have. So it was a race that was dominant on the planet prior to, and she was like a shaman within the community that had formed on the earth prior to our evolution, so to speak. And her cockiness got people in trouble and basically ended that age of man, that age of.
So it's her fault.
So it's her fault. So she's continued to exist into this new age with this enormous guilt of, boy, did I fuck up. I really.
Wow.
So it's her job to correct, because the things she survived, but so did the things that she was fighting and screwed up back then. They survived as well.
So she's still fighting them.
So she's basically cleaning up an enormous mess.
Of eons.
And when does this story take place?
It could take place at any time. So this
So
particular,
she pops back and forth?
yeah, she can
Yeah.
she can just like,
She's an immortal.
yeah, she's existed forever. So we could do stories that take place in the Roman Empire for that.
So do you do that with this first one that's coming out?
This one takes place in
80 something,
the late 80s.
late 80s.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
around
partic- yeah,
1985, 86.
And
Yes.
she has this beautiful Victorian home that
Yeah.
kind of just shows up wherever trouble is.
She goes with it.
But she's
That's pretty
following. She also, I get all these like goofy things. She also has these business cards that she just tosses to the wind.
Yeah.
And people find the cards that are having a particular.
That need help?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she's
Wow.
drawn to the card. So if you,
Oh, that's a lot of fun.
yeah.
And the name of it again?
Era.
which is her
Yeah.
name prior to
Yeah.
the fall of
Yeah.
that
Of
particular
civilization.
period of history.
And when is Nira coming out?
First quarter of 2025. So January, February of
That's
next
very
year.
cool. From Bad Hand Books.
Yeah,
Bad
bad.
hand.
Yeah.
Bad hand.
If we could get
lot.
granular again for a second, you said it's a novella, which is
novella.
traditionally 17,500 words to 40,000 words. Which end of that range does Nira fall under?
Probably 40.
Closer to 40?
Yeah, closer to
Yeah.
40. We're a little wordy.
Yeah, a little wordy.
Well, you're
It's
creating this
jam-packed,
universe.
ladies and gents. Jam-packed.
Yeah.
What genre would you say this falls into?
Dark fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how would you define dark fantasy?
Fantastic elements with fantastic characters and elements leaking into our world.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it slightly supernatural?
Oh, very
Yeah.
supernatural.
There you go.
Very supernatural. Oh, yeah, that's
Fantastic supernatural elements leaking into our world. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's you wouldn't expect to turn a corner and run face first into a dragon, but in dark fantasy, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay.
Now, has Bad Hand, and if I'm talking out of turn, just say
No.
shut up.
No.
Bad Hand contemplating possibly sequels?
Oh God, yeah. That was like the first thing he said.
Yeah.
Would you do more?
Yeah.
Would you?
That's always a good sign.
Could I have
you know?
some more,
Yeah.
please?
And you said that Tom Brown wanted
Yeah.
to do the illustrations for
Yep.
it. Now, did he do the cover?
He did do
It's
the
a beautiful cover. Alex has a copy. Hopefully, you can pop it up there sometime.
That cover is based on a photo shoot of Jeannine
Yeah.
sitting at my kitchen table with a bottle of whiskey
Yeah.
in front of her.
Oh yeah, I can
It's been a
see
long
it.
day.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
That-
Let me just check this
Now
out.
look at that cover.
That is fascinating.
Oh.
Can you see it?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen. Alex will hopefully, Alex, you can put this
Yeah,
on
I
the
will
screen.
insert this. We're talking
But
about it
there's-
now, but people will be seeing it.
There's
Yes.
so much detail in here.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
He's nuts.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's going to make people going to want that on their
For the
walls in
sake of those who are going to
college.
be
Yeah.
listening, for the sake of those who are going to be listening to this rather than watching it on like on YouTube, which is their mistake, there is an intriguing creature on this
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah.
I'm not going to even try and describe it. I'm just going to say it's an intriguing creature. So go online,
Go to
check out Nira,
badhandbooks.com,
yeah, just or Nira,
hit
right?
titles,
Right?
and you'll scroll down there. I think it's the second book listed there.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's
Wow.
well worth going to see and pre-ordering, I would say.
Yeah, and he's doing designs on the inside. He's doing illustrations and design work inside as well.
Is this
Really?
black and white or color on the inside?
It'll probably be black and white on the inside.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. Spot
Like
So
on.
is there some kind of design on every page or the beginning of each
I don't
chapter?
know. He hasn't shared anything yet.
Okay, so
I know he was all excited about getting to design the book, though. So,
that's cool. That's very cool.
yeah.
That's great. Gee, it's too bad you guys didn't have much to talk about this episode.
And there's still stuff that
There's still more.
stuff we can't talk about yet.
This is just the approved
the-
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have at least 2 other things that haven't been officially announced yet that we can't talk about, that we're actively working on, but we can't talk about it yet.
That is very
Okay.
cool.
Okay, so Chris, break out the black t-shirts, right? The gloves and the grappling hook.
There you go. We're ready.
We're on our way.
Sneak. We're gonna go up to Boston area and sneak in, look in the forbidden files.
We can tell you, not on record. If you turn off the camera, we can talk about what it is. But
Oh,
Well,
just
thanks
Chris and I-
everybody for coming this week.
Yeah.
We've been
it's really been fun. Chris, nice to see you. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
See, peace, everybody. Oh, that's good. We will.
Yes.
That's fascinating. I wish you best of luck with both of them. I do want to ask one other Vampy question. We have been on a couple of times, and every time we've talked about Vampy,
Yep.
Vampirella, right? We may have piqued some interest. What would the official title of Vampiverse be if they wanted to go and check that out?
Vampiverse.
That one's just
Vampiverse.
Vampiverse.
They
And-
collected our miniseries under
Yes.
just the
The collection is Vampiverse. That's
Yep.
great. And there's the Vamp
yeah.
Vamp.
one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there other titles that we should mention? Should people be going on a buying spree?
The one that started everything was the Valentine's Day Vampirella special in 2021.
21 was it?
Okay.
I think it was 2021 because that started. That was our jumping off point for the Vampiverse.
Yeah. it
All
was-
right. So
We,
Vampirella, Valentine's Special, Vampiverse, the Vamp, and then this new
then
one
there's
is
the one, Dark
called
Reflections.
Dark
Dark
Reflection.
Reflections. So there we go.
Wow.
And of course, Nira, so who
Nira,
is not involved at all with
I know.
Vampirella.
Evermore.
It's a whole
Yeah.
different set. It's a novella from
Both the
Bed Hand
Raven.
Books. Coming out again when?
February 2025.
Excellent.
First
First quarter. Yeah.
First quarter. Very cool. Man,
Wow.
that's a lot of stuff. It's
So-
good that they're
so-
keeping you off the streets, you two.
That's
Yeah,
what
so well, and obviously not too much because she's got to travel to his space, right? I was going to say is the Dark Reflection is coming out in June, right?
Yeah.
So we have to have you back in June so we have
Yeah.
a chance to talk about it and show some stuff and talk about the reaction and everything. And then we'll have to wait a whole 6 months before. No,
Well,
maybe
I don't
by,
think that's going to happen.
maybe
but
by
this-
the summer you can talk about one of the other things that you can't
Well,
talk
yeah,
about now.
Remember we can.
I guess one of them is going to be announced in April.
Yes.
We're in April.
I know, but
Sometime at. in
Oh,
April.
it's like
Sometime
that.
this month.
Okay.
We don't know
sometime
when.
this month. They didn't tell
Oh, I
us.
thought they were pulling an April Fool's on us.
Oh,
Yeah.
they-
They did. Grab my calendar.
excuse me.
I think it's April.
You heard
3rd.
what she said.
It might be April 3rd.
Oh, what a lovely calendar you have.
Where is it?
He says she
That's-
takes notes, right?
That's
Well,
another
technically, like,
insight for us. She has a Batman notebook and a flowered calendar
This is where she takes all her comic notes.
notes, and
When
there's
I
a
start-
calendar.
When I
this
start
is-
speaking, she grabs this and hangs
There
on
you
every word.
go.
I
But
thought
that's
it,
how to stay organized and get yourselves professional, like, ladies and gents.
I know it's this month. I thought it was the 3rd or because that's new comic book day.
Yeah, Wednesday.
I think it might be the 3rd, but I'm
Well, we'll keep in touch.
No.
We actually
Yeah,
talk.
no,
We're
we
not.
know where we are. We know
Yeah.
where you are, and you will.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually stay in touch.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You're going to be back anyway. One way or the other, you're going to be back. We're plotting and planning to definitely have you back in June, if not before, to talk about Dark Reflections.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
And
June
then
sounds
whatever
so
else
far
in the
away,
meantime.
but not really.
Really
Yeah,
not.
really, that's
No.
true. Yeah, we can actually come visit you. Okay.
Come on
So-
down.
Chris, what do you always like to say?
I say, ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed the episode here, the rollicking episode, please hit and subscribe so you miss nothing
That's
about Tell the Damn
none of this
Story.
good stuff. Right. And there'll be more controversial episodes for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about some other stuff over time.
But I tell you, I know there's one way of viewing it is controversial. The other one is one of heartbreak, because here is a
Yeah.
Roy Thomas fan that is heartbroken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roy, if you'd like to come and speak on your own behalf on Tell the Damn Story, we will make room for you in our busy schedule because of
room for
my
Thomas.
love.
Okay, everybody, it's really been a pleasure. Tom, Jeannine, always a real joy and
Yes.
fun and
Thank you very much.
a
Our
wonderful
pleasure.
experience to have you guys here, and you will be back no matter how much you kick and scream and protest. Chris, again, another ball. Thank you. Missed you on the other episode, so I'm glad you're back for this one.
Oh,
And
I'm glad to
everybody-
be back too.
And there'll be some comments, actually, let me say that again. There'll be some information in the comment section about the various Vampirella issues that you can get your hands on. I'm assuming available in comic book stores and Amazon and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's not like you got to dig deep to go find.
Yeah.
We'll
Oh,
make
God.
it.
You
fun.
could go just pick up your phone and you can order it somewhere.
There you go.
And-
Chicka, 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 boom.
a
So
matter of fact, they just published the Vampiverse compendium. So all the pieces are together. All the books are
Isn't that
together.
cool?
oh, look at that. And Tom's going, what?
Is it listed
They
as
didn't tell me.
compendium or
Oh, the collection
omnibus?
Vampiverse. Yeah, but those other ones aren't. in
No,
there.
they're
The
not, but the
Valentine's.
Vampiverse, yeah.
Vampiverse is all
Yeah.
together. Yes.
That's
There's a
great.
Vampiverse compendium, and then there's the Valentine Vamp solo,
Which is like a one
And
shot,
then
and
there's
then
this
and
coming
the
out
Vamp
too.
is a solo one too.
which is a 5-issue miniseries. The one's coming, Dark Reflections. Okay,
That's that
but either way,
reflection.
folks, you can get your hands on some Vamp. That sounds wrong too. Either way,
These guys never say get your hands on Captain America or Wolverine or nothing.
bye, folks.
Just terrible.
See you next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.